This is going to be the intro to part 18 of the tractor series, the 1066. I wanted to do it, this intro, to kind of show you a little bit of an overview because this video might be a little helter-skelter and it's all over the place. And because when I was working on that torque amplifier, I was also doing things, other things on the tractor and getting other parts. So there was a couple of things. That bearing, that main shaft bearing going into the rear end, I had to try and get those rollers out of there and find a way of getting those rollers out of that housing. So there's going to be some stuff on that. There's going to be some stuff on washing the casing in preparation for putting the torque amplifier and the transmission back together. A whole bunch of stuff, and it might seem again like it's all over the place, but it's kind of the way that the things transpire while I was working on the torque amplifier. So I want to get all of the parts of it into a video. So again, it's going to look like it's all over the place, but it'll all make sense in the long run. By the way, that's the housing for the transmission after it got painted. Now I can't paint it totally on the engine stand, but parts of it got painted. One of the things I wanted to show you is that I got a call from the IH dealer today, and the parts were in. So I went down this morning and picked up the new bearing, the other seal, and while I was down there, I asked him about them O-rings that I questioned that came out of there, and he says, "Oh yeah, I've got two of them." And he gave them to me, and I came back, and I had been editing the other video, and I came over here to kind of film showing you that I had gotten the parts and look at the O-ring, and guess what? It's not an O-ring, it's a square ring. Remember when I said that O-ring that came out of there looked square to me? Well, guess what? The new one is square also. So I just kind of thought that was funny. They still call it an O-ring, but it's not an O-ring, it's a square ring. But anyways, here's the new parts. The bearing, same manufacturer actually. That's funny. What is it, 40 years later? Probably closer to 50 years later. But anyways, the bearing, the O-rings, and the other seal. So I'll show you that when I get to put it in. So I finally got that power washer working. What a chore. But anyways, I've got the casing down onto the floor, and I sprayed some purple power on it. Just going to hit it with a power washer, hit it quickly and kind of see what I've got left on it. But I'll show it to you. I'm not going to show you all of this, just some of it. Some of it, I'm not sure what that is, if that's grease, but this did clean up. What I'm going to do is set it up on end and see if I can get some of that, some more of it out. Maybe I'll show you a little bit of setting it up on end, but I'll bring you back. Okay, so I got the trans back up on the engine stand after power washing it. I power washed it yesterday. I just put it back up on the stand. One of the things that I did, I had this old oil can around, and it didn't have anything in it. So what I did is filled it up with High-Tran. That's International's transmission hydraulic fluid that's supposed to go into this unit. And I've been told it has anti-moisture properties in it. So one of the things I'm going to do is just kind of go through and on some of the surfaces, just kind of coat some of the surfaces so that it has a little bit of a lubricant on it and it's not going to rust up. Now back in here I've got that roller bearing, so I'm going to really saturate that thing and try and displace any moisture that got in there from power washing. What I'm going to do is just put fluid into it and keep rotating the rollers around, trying to displace the fluid out of it. Kind of old school with this kind of old oil can here. Again, I just want to get some lubrication on this thing. Not that it doesn't have to be, won't have to be cleaned up again. I mean, there's still some grease on the top of it. One of the next things I got to do is I'm going to go down to that International dealer again and see if they've got any paint, that IH red. Now I've been told that there's a variation in the paint. The old paint from 60s, 70s, 80s probably vintage was more of an orange tint, had more of an orange tint to it. The new IH paint is kind of more of a pure red, so be nice if I could get that old school paint, but I don't know whether they still make it. That's why I'm going down there, but I'll bring it back. I just kind of want to show you that what I've done. I've taken one of the legs off of the support stand. That was the original support stand that supported the split when I had it split apart. That stand actually bolted to the transmission. I've taken it off and I kind of bolted it onto the front of the rear end so that I could take that jack stand out of there. I had a jack stand under there supporting it, and I probably need to get that lower housing off of there to get those bearing parts out. So kind of what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to pull that oil filter out, that hydraulic oil filter out of that housing. Even though it's brand new, it's been contaminated by that old fluid. So what I'm going to do is just pull it out and throw it away, get a new filter. But I want to pull it out and see what I can get in there too. One of the things that I was looking at, this leak might be coming from the gasket on this casing. I'm gonna have to see if I can figure that out exactly where this thing is coming from. So if it is coming from the gasket, I'm gonna have to pull that whole unit off of there. So but let me try and figure that out. For right now, what I'm going to do is pull that fuel or that hydraulic filter out. So let me set you up on the tripod, and I'll bring you back. Hopefully you can see this okay. It really shouldn't be a lot of fluid in here. You can actually pull this filter out without losing a real lot of fluid, which is, it's got to be checked in there somehow. When I originally pulled this out, there was a I kind of read the manual on it, and it actually said something about having 2 filters in there. I don't even remember now, to tell you the truth. It was kind of so long ago. But there was some years apparently had 2 filters in there. And I was kind of confused when I did it, you know, looking for that. I think I got that information out of an owner's manual for the 1066, kind of like a maintenance manual. Probably not going to want to see this. I'll shut you off. Let me give you a shot inside of that. There's that that grayish. I kind of thought it was metal filing shavings. I mean, I did put a magnet on it and it stuck to it, a magnet in it, and it stuck to it, but whether it stuck to it from surface tension or because it was magnetic, I'm not really sure. There's just so much of it. And I know it's not water because well, no, it's not water. You can actually see it if you hold the light just right. You can see like a shine, like a reflection off of it. But anyways, I think what I'm going to do is pull that whole cover plate right off of there. Let me see if I can get to those parts, those bearing parts through that. But let me bring you back. Oh, that didn't gain me anything. At least I can clean it up though. You can, here, let me show it to you. Did absolutely nothing for me. Okay. Let me figure it out and I'll bring you back. One of the things that I said I was going to do when those rollers fell out of the bearing was remove this plate to get at them. Now I'm taking a look at this plate and I didn't pull those bolts out. This bolt on the back and the bolt on the back side of the other side are missing. So I'm beginning to think this plate is not an access port in there. If that was at a gasketed plate and both bolts in the back were missing, it probably would have been leaking. So let me go take a look at the manual and see if I can figure out what that is. My other option would be to take a look under this oil galley cover and see what's behind that thing. Maybe I can gain access through that. Kind of wonder why them bolts are missing. I'll take a look at it. I might pull that, even if that isn't an access port, I might pull that thing off of there. See if it does go up in there. And it feels threaded too. I mean, that's how far it went up in there. So there were bolts in there to begin with. So I'm probably going to pull that off and take that drawbar off. And even if I can't gain access through that way, I'll take that thing off and clean them holes out and make sure bolts get put back in there again. I just thought, I went over to the manual and I found this in the manual. It's probably, a description of it is 2 paragraphs long, and it's called the hitch pump. And it says for service, use the same service procedures as the other pump. But it doesn't show this plate off of here. So I'm going to think about it. And they never show this thing coming off. So I've got to assume, since it's not shown being off, that this is just a flat machine surface up here. And it's just bolted on there to hold the drawbar. But I guess as long as I've got this far, I might as well take that hitch pump plate off and find out if I can gain access to it. Somehow, you know, I probably can take that seat plate off. Yeah. That seat plate goes from here all the way back. I'd have to pull it off with a gantry crane. I kind of stuck the light in here and tried to look down the filler tube to see if I could. So if I pull there's a smaller plate up here I could probably pull off, but I don't know whether I'm going to be able to get access down there to it or not. Let me think about it. I might even actually take the manual home with me and kind of look through it. See if I can figure out where I can get access to get those rollers out of there. God only knows what else could be in there too. But I'll bring it back. Just a little shot. I'm pulling this, the hydraulic pump for the attachments is behind this plate. I broke the plate free, just draining the oil out of it. I want to take this off to see if I can get to those bearing pieces down in the bottom of the housing, and also take a look in there, kind of get an idea of what's going on inside of there. You know, how the gears look, if there's shavings or anything in the bottom of the casing. But I'll bring it back when I take it off. Okay, funny little thing, that bearing that I had replaced, so there's 4 rollers missing. And what I did is pull that hydraulic pump out of it, out of the housing down here, and I got into that oil and I was able to find 3 of them. But for the life of me, I couldn't find that 4th roller. And I searched everything. I stuck my hand back in there. I had a magnet, and I got a magnet back in there to try and pull it out to see where I could find it, and I couldn't find it. Shone the light down through here. And then what I was doing is, let me see if I can get that light back in there again. Well, anyways, what I was doing is rolling the gears, and I kept hearing this clicking sound like a pulse and a ratchet. And I'm thinking, wait, what is that? And lo and behold, that bearing was down in there between the gears, just resting on it, kind of bouncing up and down as the gears spun around. So I found the last roller, got it out. So they're all accounted for. I did find a little piece of metal, and I put it right, it's right there. Now I'm going to go inspect that bearing housing and see if it's associated with that. But I'll bring it back. Well, I have you over here. There's a bunch of oil sitting in the bottom of this housing, but again, here we go with that coloring. Now, I'm starting to wonder if it's not a kind of a mixture of water and dirt, because I have the oil in here, and if I kind of get it out, it'll drop to the bottom like water would do. Oil floats on water. But then again, if there was metallic particles in it, it would be heavier too and sink. So I'm not sure. I'm really baffled. You can put a magnet. I've got a magnet, and I can put the magnet on it, and it kind of sticks to it, but then again it kind of sticks to the whole thing. And it could be just surface tension too. I don't know. I'm going to get rid of it, and in inspecting it, none of the gears or anything that I've found yet really looked bad. Looked like anything that would cause it. So I'm kind of starting to wonder if it isn't moisture, but where did the gray pick up from? I'm not really sure. Unless somebody put something in this transmission at one time. Some kind of an additive, maybe? I don't know. I'm going to keep going on. There's still a bunch of oil trapped in there, and down underneath the thing, there's a couple of more drain plugs. I'm going to pull them out and try and get all this oil out of there. But I'll bring it back. The other thing is I kind of looked at this bearing housing, and I really don't see a spot where that piece of metal may have came from that I found with the magnet at the bottom of the casing, but I'll continue on looking. So what I did is I took this axle seal housing and put it in the blaster, sandblaster, and blasted it off. I was thinking about taking that off of there, just kind of milling that down a little bit, but I decided against it. The other ones like that, might as well keep them both the same. So I went down and got some paint today. Now I only got rattle cans for now, but this IH 2150 red is the old red style. So what I'm going to do is I just kind of wanted to try this out on this piece and see if it is right. So I'll bring you back. Okay, so here is this axle seal housing after I painted it with that International paint. Now this is supposed to be the original International paint, the old style International paint, and it does look that way to me. I mean, to me it appears the orangish tint to it. It's not that vivid bright red that the new paint is. So it looks like that away from something red. Now this toolbox is very red, and if I hold it up next to that, it appears to be darker. It doesn't appear to be that like orange when it's away from everything or away from something that is totally red. But anyways, there it is. Going to start reassemble this one and pull the other one off and change that seal too. So I'll bring you back for that.